Hey there, Saltydayn here. I want to make an update for my Flame Link video, which I've already commented on with a pinned comment that sadly the live part of Flame Link isn't existing here on the mercenaries, so they don't scale with live, which is kind of sad, but also kind of good at the same time. It's sad because we can't scale them. It's good because we can use other items now, which is really interesting, honestly, and can allow us to reach really, really nice heights. Now, of course, I'm sorry for making a mistake. I don't know how this happened. I'm pretty sure it was because of like my endurance shadow stacking or because of a mistake between tests or something that made me see higher numbers on my volcanic fissure for some reason. Again, I really don't want to make mistakes like this, and I'm sorry, but we have new stuff coming that might just offset this in a very good direction. The first thing I want to talk about, which is probably a bug, or maybe not, I'm not really sure. Technically, it's, you could argue, a clever use of game mechanics, because you have Flame Link, which has a certain duration and a certain cooldown. If you get a Flame Link with cooldown recovery here, and you use cooldown recovery with the Soulbound and on the boots as well, you can actually achieve a overlapping sort of like link, because you just recast the link before it ends, therefore extending the duration technically of the original one, or however that works, I'm not really sure. And we can use the anoint here, which is called Powerful Bond. So basically after 4 to 5 seconds of being linked, this will kick in and just give you 20% increased buff effect of your links for the entire duration of being linked, which is the entire map basically, which is great, right? That's fantastic. However, damage we are getting from this, which is approximately like between like, I think it's like 200 to 300 fire damage or something. I couldn't really narrow it down too much. It's kind of hard to reverse engineer, at least for me it is, or I'm just completely sleep deprived from doing a 40-hour stream and then 2 24-hour streams back to back with only like 3 hours of sleep between all of these. So I'm kind of cooked, but I hope my stuff here isn't, or at least I think it isn't. Now, our Scalpel's Patience is really good because it allows us to always freeze, shock, and ignite. You can use a weapon that uses cold and lightning damage as well to always like freeze, shock, ignite, and also chill on top, which is, in my opinion, really, really good to just apply certain ailments, which we usually don't on Volcanic Fissure. You just ignite basically if you want to, and this also helps you upkeep the ignite duration or just any ignites on enemies, so you can make more use of stuff like the Mastery here, which gives you 100% increased damage. Now, there's also something else I'm using here. I'm also using the helmet, which gives a reduced life regen rate, which disables like life regen effects on most monsters, or stuff like Conjugate Ground, for example, which is really, really helpful. The mana cost, ignore this, I didn't have enough Eldritch currency to update this. Again, I'm playing a solo self one, so this isn't the most optimized one. This I can't really seem to get to work. It sometimes works, it most often doesn't work for some reason. I don't know. It might be triggered by something else. I can't really tell you. Maybe it's because the trigger level 10 skill, which doesn't work on these, I'm pretty sure. But again, just keep in mind, it's still kind of nice to get some rarity from this if you use stuff like Greed's Embrace, because I don't really lose movement speed, it feels like. He's still super fast, so you can use this for some rarity if you want to. But again, isn't really necessary. You can use a ring with a curse on there, or a Doge's ring, and just use a curse ring over here if your cooldown recovery is enough. I'm pretty sure it isn't, but it might be. And on the gloves, you can use stuff like Fire Exposure or the Intimidator Hit, which I'm using right now, or you can just corrupt these for the Elemental Weakness and Hit, and then use Doge's here to apply a secondary curse, which cannot override yours, but stacks on top of your curse, whatever you're using. I'm right now using Vulnerability. You can still use Flammability if you want to, or whatever you want to deal with. Then Parashot Clasp, which is the same as like the Calm spell that you can use. The Calm spell basically has an aura of, I think it's like 4 meters or something, which is reasonably large, not too great though. That gives you 25% of physical converted into fire in terms of like enemy damage dealt to you, and this will give you between like 20 to 30, so it can scale higher but might just be lower for fire and lightning. Now, depending on your rest setups, you might have way more max fire rest and max lightning. This can actually be slightly worse than the Calm spell, but I didn't have the Calm spell, so I have to stick with this. Just keep in mind that it might be beneficial to use this as well. Now on the boots, you can use any form of like ground, Sept ground, Scorched ground, Brittle ground for the crit. If you use the Earthshaker's helmet, that gives you base crit per exerted Warcry, for example. This helps just to crit cap even easier. You can use Scourge or the Maven boots, or use Sept for just some more damage reduction. That's basically all there is to this on the belt slot. Again, I've talked about the ring as well. It's just for the skill fluctuation, nothing more here really. There's probably way more things you can do here than just these skills. I want to talk about this as well, because you can get stuff like Ash and Fissure, which will cover enemies in Ash, so you don't need to use the Smolder Strike Helmet modifier from the infamous one, similar to the Earthshaker stuff I mentioned earlier, that can allow you to cover enemies in Ash. You can just have this on the ability here, which is really good. The uptime is also pretty okay, pretty decent, to be honest. And you can also get support gems like combustion support. Sadly, I don't have this here right now, but it's still another 10% minus res for the enemy, which is also pretty good. And that's honestly all that's like really good here. I'm still pretty sure they can spawn with determination, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen one of these yet. If you want to correct me about this, or you have any other input or correction about this video, or any other information that might be beneficial to this, please share it in the comments. I'm always keen to learn and keen to share, so I'm doing my best here. But yeah, that's all I want to share about, or I want to talk about here. This is still kind of pretty unkillable. I'm also planning on a video that will showcase a few more builds and use cases for these, which you can use on your mercenaries, like just featuring POBs for some certain gear sets. You've probably seen this on other creators as well, so it probably won't be too much new stuff here. I'm also planning on a magic find companion, basically, for, again, Solo Self-Hunt. This is probably more applying to Solo Self-Hunt than trade, I'm pretty sure, but it's still quite nice. I'm currently like planning or broadly calculating about like 10 to 20 times the uniques, but again, it really depends on what we can do. I can do some very, very insane business with these, except for stuff like Doyanis, which is probably way too OP and should get nerfed, because I don't really want to play lightning builds all league, and these are really nice for fire builds, or like even cold builds if you want to. But yeah, I have something coming up in the future. I hope this helps. If you want to follow this progress, you can just watch me on stream. I'm streaming basically the entire day, and once I'm done, I do these videos in the few remaining hours I have between streams and sleeping, which I'm only doing like 3 hours a day anyways. But yeah, that's why I also have to hurry and keep these videos kind of short. So see you next time. If you're interested to see what I'm doing with the Magic Find Companion for Solo Self-Hunt, or anything else I'm doing, just watch my Twitch on there, say hi, ask me anything. I probably can answer most, if not hopefully all questions of yours. And I wish you best of luck, good loot, see ya until next time, bye bye.